Yeah, because when you don't have pages and print matter, you have to have some other way to, for the story, yeah, to be imprinted. Yeah, great. And we just look at each other while we're talking back and forth.
Wonderful. So I don't look at any cameras?
No, we just look at each other.
You can have a conversation, but don't swivel on that seat, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That looks real nice right there.
Okay, go ahead. 3, 2, 1, go ahead.
With the push for higher achievement in schools, we hear about the conflict between learning in the classroom and activity in the schoolyard or the gym. It often turns out that one kind of education is at the expense of the other, but our guest believes the two can be combined and make for something better. The approach is reading plus movement and observation. It's called Literacy+, and it's conceived with a series of books about children and other family members getting out for walks in the neighborhood. We'd like to welcome author, storyteller, and historian Irene Smalls. Thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me on as a guest.
Tell me about the book you're starting this out with, because this is a book that springs really from your own life, your family's life.
Oh, most definitely. The book that we're starting out with is Jonathan and His Mummy, which was a love song that I wrote for my son Jonathan when he was 3 years old. And the story is very much about taking an active youngster and incorporating that movement into his learning. And indeed, brain research says that physical activity stimulates the formation of new brain cells, that physical activity encourages, learning and reinforces learning. And so in a very sort of intuitive way, I was using the science to help my child learn.
So tell me, what did you do with your child? You go walking in the neighborhood, I guess?
Oh, well, what we did was we did simple errands and we made it a game. We did reggae steps, we did zigzag steps, we did hip-hop steps, we did backward steps. And the story, Jonathan and His Mommy, is all written in my son's voice. The mother never speaks. So it's very much about empowering young children around movement, around creativity, around really being the masters of their own destiny.
Now this actually, I guess, must have stirred some memories in your part about when you were closer to your son's age, you were in kindergarten.
Oh yes, because actually I learned this technique from a very wise kindergarten teacher back in the 1950s. I had gone to kindergarten and told my teacher I was smart enough already. I told her I didn't need to learn how to read. I didn't need to learn how to write. At 5, I knew everything there was to know, and she agreed with me, but she said, we play games, and I was like, ooh, I love games. And she says, oh yeah, and then we have snack. And so everything that we did, learning the alphabet, learning how to read, learning our numbers, all of those things were games. And so I was busy having fun playing the games and not realizing that I was learning how to read, I was learning how to count, I was learning the alphabet. And so I replicated that wonderful teaching method, shall we say, 40 years later when I had my own children.
Now that you're more or less acting as the teacher, explain, why does it work better that way?
Well, 25% of the blood flow from every heartbeat goes to the brain. And so when you are moving, the brain is getting more oxygen, the brain is getting more fuel, you have a smarter brain. And indeed, there's research that says that physical activity and exercise stimulates the formation of new brain cells, so you have a smarter child to work with.
Well, you have some projects and some events around this. Tell me a little bit about what you've got planned for the weeks and the months ahead.
Well, in September, I received $100,000 in a grant from State Street Bank and the Community Design Resource Center to develop this concept, Literacy+Exercise, into a story step exhibit at the Copley Library. So it's opening in September at the downtown Copley Library, and we're going to have a 3-dimensional Jonathan and His Mummy. The book will be in English and Spanish. It will be life-size or child-size, and children will have the opportunity to experience the book as a 363 kind of interaction, that they can have things that they can touch, things they can pull, they can go through the story as a zigzag, they can go through the story in a linear fashion, or they can walk around the story. And we also have areas of free play where they can, after going through the story, sit and play or start a game with another child.
Of course, I imagine one lesson for this is that, once you try doing this with the books you've been talking about, you could do that with some other books. It's really up to the parent and child.
It most definitely is, because what Literacy is storytelling. Storytelling with a very definite focus. But the idea is that active reading has been shown to increase the literacy levels, the reading achievement of youngsters. And so Literacy is meant to focus on it. The series starts with Jonathan and his mommy, but almost any book that involves characters, that involves motion, that involves, movement of one type or another can be literacized or made a part of an active reading experience.
Why is it that the activity helps, the activity of the body helps the mind? What's going on?
Because the thing is that most learning is multisensory. And research shows that children retain knowledge longer if they see it, if they say it, if they do it, and if they're having a good time. Literally, neurons that fire together wire together. So if you have one set of neurons firing because you're seeing it, if you have another set of neurons firing because you're doing it, if you have another set of neurons firing because you're hearing it, all of those neurons become fused together, and that knowledge becomes cemented into the brain.
I think another thing that's interesting here is whether parents reading to a boy or a girl. Tell me, is there any difference?
There is a difference because boys and girls are not the same. I mean, we have a lot of similarities, but again, looking at cognitive research, boys have less serotonin, and serotonin is a hormone that has a calming effect. And so you can have little girls and they can sit and play with their dolls and be very nice and have little tea parties, but boys are going to be tearing around and pulling things apart, etc., because they have less of the chemical of serotonin in their blood system. And so what it means is that you cannot change the biology. The brain has been wired and developed over billions of years, and so we can't say in the year 2009, I don't care about the billions of years, you're going to sit still and you're going to read, and no, you can't go to recess, and no, you can't go to gym. The brain does not work that way. We have to work with the body, we have to work with the science of how we perform best.
Another thing that's going on here is not even about books, it's just about parents and kids having talks.
Oh, most definitely, in terms of the interaction, building the relationship, the bonding, because as I said, in the story, even though the mother never speaks, you feel her presence. You feel her love of her son. You feel her, generously guiding and supporting, his growth and development. And that's so essential and important for kids today.
I think the other thing about a walk around the neighborhood, a lot of people take it for granted where they live. You come back there from work and you eat, you go to sleep, and that's it. But getting out, walking around the block, it's sometimes more than you might expect, mentally adventurous.
A lot more than you expect in terms of children just getting to know their environment. And also, it also provides a neat, non-exercise activity thermogenesis workout. And what I found working in school, because I've been a storyteller for the past 20 years, is that kids today are not as physically fit as they used to be. They're not biking, they're not skateboarding, they're not roller skating with the little keys and you always lose your key or whatever. They're playing with the video games and the thumbs. And so what we want to do is give them a low-impact, neat, non-exercise activity thermogenesis workout that helps them build toward more engagement in physical activity.
And I know you have a couple of websites with some more information.
Yes, we have the www.literacy.com website, as well as my own personal author storyteller website, www.irenesmalls.com.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest.
Author and storyteller Irene Smalls. And we'll have more news in just a moment.
Good, I'll edit it. Yeah, we're okay.
Great. Great, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And I can